Greetings, salutations, and welcome back to Star Traders. As you guys may or may not be aware, our last expedition ended with certain aliens eating certain people's faces off. We're going to try to not have that happen this time, but I will be upping the difficulty and possibly going into a little bit more of how the numbers are working. Build a little bit more of an optimized playthrough. So, with that said, what we're going to be building is a merchant, because optimized. Digress. I kid, if you can't tell. We're changing up so that skills are going to be our top, and in order for... Oops, that was mistaken. There we go. In order to keep combat relatively in our favor, we are going to go ahead and dump 10 into command, 10 into tactics, as those are both used during ship-to-ship combat. Negotiate is used by the merchant, so we're going to go ahead and put 3 in there. Attributes, we're going to leave Charisma, Wisdom maxed, put the remaining in Resilience. Ship. Rather than start with the small Juror class, as we did before, we're going to be updating to the Paladin Cruiser. So we'll start with, I think, 24 crew, which is the same as what we started with before, but we have room to up it to 30, and room for 1 more officer. As well as having a much expanded cargo bay. Cargo bay? Cargo bay. Contacts, we are going to start with a salvage broker, specifically because of that discounted upgrades thing. We are going to sit on this ship for a long time. And an ex-spy, because I actually really like having a spy recruit, and if we need to, we can get military level gear there. Also, they buy intel, but I think this guy does as well. Yeah. Experience, we're starting as a merchant, which last time we became a little bit of a crime lord. We're going to avoid doing that this time. So we are going to focus with the lawful, known for legitimate dealings, reduces the hostility of law-abiding ships, military officers, merchant, bounty hunters, zealots. So it's going to be easier for us to not be engaged in combat, and we're going to make more money when we are trading. So, with that said, the rest of this is going to be us outfitting the ship and building a crew. So, if that's not your thing, go ahead and we will have the video out tomorrow, which will have our first real gameplay. So, crew. What I like is that's the face I use. That is the default face if you swap genders. Uniform, I think I'm going to pick that, and we're going to put us under Captain Prook. We are also, what is it? Like 6 days? Something like that from them actually releasing their Kickstarter for their next game. As said, we are upping this to Brutal, which gives us 0 bonus XP, 0 bonus profits. Enemies are far more difficult. I've tried Impossible and I can get far, but Brutal I think will actually be able to make work. I do like starting with Zenrin. Default map is fine. Well, let's do default map for this one. If we end up playing again after this, or if we have a we'll call it an emergency, we'll do that. Because I do want to start on one of their randomly generated maps. Alright, the Arbiter is waiting. If we plan to take her to the Fane Court, otherwise we should move on. Arbiter is currently sitting in that industrial world, but as stated, it's crew time. Alright, you guys know the drill. If you want to be added, let me know. Otherwise, I am just going to be leaving default names. And FYI, if you get put on a combat crew, don't expect to live forever. Swap this to job. Whoops. Then visuals. So what I'm going to do is that I know what we're looking at. We're going to give blue armbands to everyone who starts on the ship. I.e., if they're an original crew, they get an armband. And I think we'll use that uniform and just start that off with all crew. It only does it by gender, so we need to repeat it here. Alright, so those are the general. Why orange? Well, in my mind and in my thinking, if you're using an orange jumpsuit, it's easy to see the person. And should the worst happen and you get vented out to space, we can at least collect your remains. We'll end up changing up the uniform for our fighting crew. But for everyone else, they get that. Officers, I'll leave them as they are dressed, or if we get any of you guys, however you want to dress them. Let's go ahead and visual get our stuff going. I want a hat. And we'll put some glasses on. There we go. Talents. Turn off the show all talents for now. And I think we're going to grab the Wise Counsel. Just automatically pass a negotiate test. Doctor is going to grab medical staff. This is our engineer. Oh, let's get our stats on these people. Doctor is a spiritualist. Reduces morale loss. Could actually be decent in combat if we went combat doctor with her. Because the +3 initiative and the resilience buff is nice. Food for thought. Also starts with some evasion. This guy, though, our engineer, always joins our side of a mutiny, but I think all officers always do. I will grab port maintenance, just a little bit of passive heals as we go on. That'll be fine. Quartermaster, ex-military, spice addict. Just getting to know our officers a little. And I'm going to straight take contract bargain. Just so that if we have an emergency and we get a bunch of morale, we'll reduce the bleed through of our crew. Because the starting crew starts off better than any crew you hire. Okay. So now we're looking at our crew dogs. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 3. Charisma 19, 14, 23. Alright, so what we're going to do is I want to make sure we have 2 of the autosaves, but I think the final one, we're just going to give this guy relaxing because it's a charisma-based skill and his charisma is pretty high. Despite the fact that he's fierce. Then the other 2 are going to pick up safety protocols. That's the only one I immediately care about their stats on. So we're going to grab 2 hot wires for our electricians or electronic tech. A signature jammer. And honestly, I think I'm going to grab 2 signature jammers. The advantage of signature jammer... Oh, we've got a third one. Storm shielding. Is when we're patrolling, if we find a smuggler, it reduces our influence lost. And we're going to be doing a lot of patrolling because we're trying to make everyone our friend. We're a merchant. It does not pay to have enemies. Alright, so we picked up our 2 bullseye certainties, and we have a couple extra talents we can use. Let's grab some bombardment as a defensive talent. Defensive combat talent. Our mechanic will grab careful testing so that we've got a repair skill. Alright, we're into our navigators. Let's grab 2 people on the read charts. 1 on fast getaway. We could skip over exacting design because the gunners are covering the tactics tests. Pilots. Same thing, we're going to grab 2 expert maneuvers. We'll grab a single evasive maneuver and a sure landfall just to save us on the fuel expenditure. Okay, so now we're into our crew, our combat crew. You have great quickness and great wisdom, but you're mysterious. Doesn't really matter to me. Let's go ahead, and I think what we're going to use is the combat uniform. Is just kind of set that up. It's like combat jumpsuit, a beret. I think it's a beret. Because she's already got good stats, I think we can go ahead and grab the close range barrage and have her start in slot. So you got the 4 slots in combat. Have her start in, I guess slot 2 would be this one because I got the camera flipped. And this is a point blank, can only be fired in slot 1. But I think what we'll do is we'll grab our swordsman, the slot 1 retreat talent. So he'll start in 1 and then go back to 2. And then she'll be in 1 for the remainder of the combat. And it reduces our opponent's accuracy. Alright, so here's our first rifle person. More strength than quickness. Bonus initiative, which is really nice. And you have more quickness than strength. So let's equip you with the quickness rifle, which, since it can't fire at range 1, we'll then just go ahead and grab suppressing fire. Bonus to accuracy, and just gonna snipe from the back. Then our other rifle person, I think we're going to go ahead and start. Let's assume worst case scenario. I think we're going to go ahead and leave the Razor LMG equipped. Well, we could switch to a snubber. It's a little less accuracy and can't fire in slot 3 where she'll be sitting. But then we could grab the suppressing fire talent, and we can fire from slot 3 with bonus to accuracy. I think we're going to go that route. Hopefully won't get knocked back to slot 4, as the snubber can't fire from there. And we gotta give you the uniform. Hat. Set you up with our squad uniform. That was a armband change. And the last one is our swordswoman. Much higher quickness than strength, but the strength isn't terrible. Device freak, which actually means I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to flag her over into blue, which means has an officer type skill. And with the bonus to stealth, she would make a great assassin if we could level her up. Because she is primarily, or a primary dex fighter, I'm going to switch her over to a pistol and give her the offhand blade. When we level up pistol, that'll give her a little bit of extra parry, and that'll make her into a pseudo-defensive fighter. Talent, we're going to go ahead and give her the slashing retreat. It gives her parry, dodge, and bonus armor, and retreats her a slot. Also, if the worst happens and she gets pushed back to slot 3, she can switch over and use her pistol. She won't be as good at it as if she were a bodyguard, but it'll be good enough for me. All right. I think that's going to represent our crew. At least starting off. The first thing we're going to try to save up and buy. And I guess let's go ahead and look at our ship. Ship. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and boop ourselves off the camera real quick, because then we can see everything. So we're starting off with a large fuel tank. That can get removed, eventually. Obviously, it's not getting removed now. Weapon-wise, we've got the 2 torpedoes, which I've actually done some research on the damage type. So the 2 damages you see there, the 21 to 60 and the 10 to 30, the first damage, the one that says damage, is 100%. That's just damage to hull. The void damage is split between hull, components, and crew. And I think what we're going to try to build ourselves out as is a ship that specializes in if we're in combat. We are going to specialize in disabling and capturing ships so that we can confiscate their cargo rather than blowing them up and salvaging. As such, I think both of these cargo bays are going to stay, and we'll end up upgrading them to larger cargo bays. Let's go... I don't want to land here, because if I land, it only costs us 1 fuel. Let's just land, because then I can see what kind of things we could put in. What type of... Let's just scroll through here, see what we could do. So we could put in a grav cannon for just straight up shipwrecking, because it just has pure hull damage. But this is what I was interested in. We could put in one of these plasma cannons. And the hull damage isn't huge, but the damage to internal components and crew is massive. So I think eventually our fuel tank's going to get swapped out for this. And of course it might not be the highest version. We might swap out for little one. Well, actually, no, we don't want to use the obliterator because that one's got the high damage. So the smallest one we'd put in is the interceder. I don't know if that's interceder or not. Here's the problem with my spelling. Regardless. As long as we're not engaging at range 5, we'll be fine. So we move our ship into range 4 and we can start firing with it. Honestly, as long as we start with the interceder, we'll be fine. But that would take up all of our large slots. Bridge stays, engine stays, quarters gets upgraded to a quarters. Can we upgrade the medical bay to have a officer's cabin? Yes. For a lot of money. We'll be saving up for this. Because being able to put the cabin in saves us a small slot where our cabins are normally, and that'll be the next officer we get. We do currently have the Ares missile system. I honestly think we'll be losing it, as in just switching it out for something else. My reason being is at range 5, the interceder... let's switch this to range 4. Nope, range 3. Costs us how much to fire? 4? So we'll have only 4 reactor points left. And in terms of the weapons here... we want anything that is range 3, 4, or 5. They're primarily hull damaging weapons. I guess we could fit in a torpedo slot. Does up to 90 void damage. Railguns do a fair bit of damage, but can't be... we do want something that can be fired at range 5. And so what I'm envisioning is... we actually load up on these to upgrade our Hellfire torpedoes to the torpedo dual-laced arrays. They pack reasonable punches and do have void damage. So we swap this out for something defensive. And then we swap this out for either something defensive, because I think we can grab a shield. Yeah, deflector array. I don't think I like the deflector array. What other options do we have? We have the reinforced structures. We're looking for things that primarily add the stats, because those increase the number of dice you roll defensively. Peak velocity matrix. Not really happy with this. So if we're not going defense, what's offense? Nothing. There's plenty of ops, like for reducing stuff during exploration. We could aim to put in a luxury cabin here. And if we put in a luxury cabin, we can strip out the cabin we have here and put in one of the defensive things here, which have such glorious things as the Nav Assist module, which adds 7 defensive die to our navigation, which if we're fighting at range 4, we use navigation for defense, and electronics is a secondary defensive skill. The SeaTac interceptor system is also good. Mix of navigation and pilot, but also has that sweet void resist, which means if we're sitting and slugging it out, enemy torpedoes will have a hard time damaging our ship and our crew, while we will be slugging out their ship and their crew, or their ship components and their crew. So we're going to want one of these, and Zenrin has the better one, the level 4, whereas everyone else is capped at level 3. And it buffs fighter combat. Not that that's huge for us, but we might put in some defense pattern matrix. There's options here. We've got 3 different slots we can sit stuff in. And if we make stuff smaller, we might be able to get rid of the mass dampener. So I think that's what we're going to go for. We will start this up next time, and we will start doing the various tutorial missions as we start probably bouncing between our contacts using the time we've got, those 38 weeks, just to try to get some easy money early on. But yeah, I am hopeful. Till then, well, let me go ahead and we're back. And we're ending. So until then, thank you very much to those of you who have supported us. If you guys have anything you want to let me know or any recommendations for what we should do this playthrough, feel free to go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, you know how this goes. Best of vibes to you. Have a great night. I just realized I'm really low. I can't slide down any further.